Are we live? Is she live? We're live.
I can cut all this. Me walking out.
Okay.
Yeah, we can.
A lot of these are very tricky.
But try to like.
Don't lose too much. Yeah.
All right, my mic is hot. Is your mic hot? Everybody's mic hot?
Pick it up. You can pick it up and do that at the same time. There you go.
Well,
What do they
we
usually
do-
say?
Hmm?
I don't know.
Well, this
Micah's like take
is the third dimension.
Okay.
the third
uh,
dimension,
Take one and only.
episode 8.
One of one.
One of one, episode 8.
Pivoting.
There, that's all you need.
Yeah.
The Pivot Podcast.
Right. The Pivot. The Pivot Podcast.
You
PP.
just set that off camera.
No,
somewhere.
yeah, we're not abbreviating it.
Cool.
Well,
Things are not long
How about
on my
that?
arm.
Well,
You know what? I'm just gonna.
I'm new to your viewers, so you probably should give me some sort of introduction.
So, welcome back to the Third Dimension. I'm Max.
I'm Cruz.
Today we have a very special guest.
Not that special.
You're pretty special. You're the
Yeah.
first guest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this is like
Wow.
this is a monumental.
You
moment.
are
Okay.
breaking the mold here.
Whew.
Yeah,
Wow.
I
Yes.
know.
A lot of pressure on me right
That's
now.
right. So, yeah, exactly. No pressure. It's gonna be fine. Yeah. So this is Joy Stamp, filmmaker
Mhm.
extraordinaire, editor, director, all of the above.
Does all the things.
He does.
Yes, go on.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I like how this is going.
Hi guys. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. My name is Joy, and I'm a filmmaker, slash animator. I don't think you mentioned animator.
I didn't know. Yes. So,
Not
so
to,
no, it's important.
That's it's been this would be like just going right into our first sort of topic,
Right.
I think, which is how do you brand yourself? Like, how do you market yourself as a creative?
Right.
Because I'm pretty well connected in our local sort of community,
Right.
Mhm.
and I've noticed that a lot of people sort of do everything.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be this and wants to be that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, we do what it takes to
A little
keep,
bit of
to
everything.
keep going.
Right.
Right. So
Mhm.
even I do. I'm not saying I don't. I'm a film director slash animator. That's like what I'm trying to be right now. That's what I'm trying to like actively pursue.
Right.
But I still do like corporate shoots.
Right.
I still do the boring stuff where you
Yeah.
just manning a camera in
You
the
do what
corner
you
of the
gotta do.
room,
Yeah.
watching a business conference going on.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I saw that on your
I shoot
story.
weddings.
Yeah.
I shoot weddings occasionally. But like the way that I brand myself, on social media, for example, I don't post any of that. Like I do all my sort of localized networking and get myself out there and I get on these jobs, but you'll never see like a wedding posted to my
Right.
Instagram, for example,
Right.
because that's just not
It's
like
not
what I'm
you're
trying to
right.
do long term. Like,
Right.
yes, it's money,
Right.
and it's allowing me to still work with the camera.
Right.
It's like use those
in the
expertise, I
field.
guess.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be a filmmaker.
Right.
My
Be
first
creative.
passion is
Yeah.
animation.
Right.
And I'm trying to like somehow put those together as a film director
Yeah.
and animator.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I want to do animated films eventually. So how
Yeah.
do I get there?
Right.
You know?
Right. And I think that's great because and again, also part of why bringing you on was important to the podcast is because we've covered the nature of pursuing the things you want to do when that doesn't include a 9 to 5 and necessarily college. Not that there's again anything wrong with those things, but when you find yourself in a position where you don't want to pursue those things and you want to do something that's off beaten trail, where do you start? And what does that look like?
Yeah.
Because it's a lot. And a lot
Mhm.
of people find themselves there and they have no idea what to do. And people are asking for answers like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do this? How are you going to find money? Blah, blah, blah. It's a
A
lot.
lot of societal pressure,
There is.
on what you, um, what do you personally want to do? What are your dreams? What are your passions in life?
Right.
What are you trying to achieve? Versus, people, friends and family, people you just, don't take seriously, or, well, in my case, I gotta rephrase that. My family is very like supportive of me. Like I
Right.
love my family and everything.
Right.
But there's certain societal pressure on you from a lot of people who typically aren't the ones trying to do that, who are the ones that are going to judge you the hardest, the ones
Yes.
who are going to really sort of like,
Bash you.
what are you doing with your life? Why would you pursue something that's so
Makes no sense.
not necessarily just makes no sense, but more so like there's this uncertainty that comes
Risk.
along with that risk, and I think it's important to take calculated risks. I think it's important to you know, the risk factor that will always be at the forefront of every sort of endeavor that you do, you know. But I think that when you decide to go out there and do something despite the risk, despite
The voice.
the naysayers and everything, yeah, then you will, I think, eventually succeed. You might not find success right away, and that's something that I think people often they get discouraged because they don't want
The
to
wait.
put the necessary work in, you know. Here's what's going to happen. When you guys do inevitably find success in what you love doing,
Right.
find a way to like just support yourself doing what you love, which is I think is what we're all sort of trying to do, you
Right.
know, especially in this in today's modern age. We are given these devices, you know, we have the internet, we have the access to potentially reach a very large number of people, you know. But when it comes down to it, there are going to be people who come back into your lives trying to get a piece of the,
Yes.
you know, once you find that success, there are going to eventually be people
The gold diggers.
who are
Yeah.
just like, wow, like let me get in on that, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just like let me find that shortcut through someone else, you know. Like I know people very well connected
Yeah.
people. I know people who have been in the industry, you know, the
Right.
film industry for years and years,
Right.
who have been working as a professional for
Right.
20 years, you know. And I don't think it's fair for me to just because I happen to know someone to
Right.
be like, hey, can you
Get me in.
get me
Yeah.
you know, Steven
Smuggle me in.
Spielberg's number,
right.
you know.
Right.
That feels scummy, you know. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
good.
No.
And I want to work for what I
Right.
want to feel good about what I'm achieving,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And with that being said, you know, obviously it's really good to network, to meet people,
Right.
to know people,
Right.
and even ask for favors. But I think at the end of the day, it's like, what sort of value can you give someone else?
Yeah.
You
And
know, so when I bring people onto like a film set,
Right.
as an independent filmmaker, as someone who doesn't have money right now for
Right.
films, but I have a vision. If I'm able to get somebody to, you know, just take a day or so, to donate their time to me,
Mm-hmm.
then I want to make sure that I'm giving them value back in return for what they're giving me. You know, I want to make sure that there's, you know, I will
Worthwhile.
do my absolute damnedest to like make sure that what I'm putting out, what I'm doing, with whatever project I'm on, I'm doing my absolute hardest. Well, sorry, my absolute best work.
Right.
I'm putting my best foot forward, and I'm showing people like, hey, if you trust me, you know, like we're succeeding together.
Right.
You know, so like if you trust me, with the vision I'm putting out here, if I'm working on this and you dedicate, you know, a day to come out and help me on that, despite not getting paid, then um, you will reap the same sort of benefit and reward that I end up getting from that. You know, I'm not just using you to climb to the top.
Right.
I'm
It's
inviting
symbiotic.
you
Yeah.
to succeed with me, you know. And so that's why there are certain projects and certain creative like endeavors and films and all that that I'm sort of beyond, you know. Like I think as you level up as a filmmaker and, you know, just as a creative, when you do more and more, you know, you're gonna get different people like, oh, you know, I can, you know, just because I'm an animator, everyone suddenly thinks that I'm just gonna start animating things
Yeah.
for them, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't. I'm just like, well,
It takes a lot of
let's
time
talk
to do
budget,
that.
let's
Yeah.
talk money, because that's the kind of thing where you really can't do that sort of work for free because
No.
it's such a
It takes
full-time
a lot
job.
of
Like
time.
when you're working, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
You know, I did a just doing some practice animation recently, and it was a
Stop motion
5
or
CGI.
okay.
I've been learning CGI a lot lately. And it was a 5-second clip. Took me over 12 hours to animate it, 5 seconds.
Yep.
And so it truly is a very, very time intensive,
Mhm.
very fun, but very time intensive
Yeah.
process. And so when, you know, when I have people like asking me,
You're like, hold on,
like,
you
hey,
don't,
hold
you
up
don't
here, you know,
understand.
like,
yeah,
yeah, you can do something really cheap,
Right.
but it's not going to look great. You know, so anyway,
Yeah.
going off on a tangent here. So.
Well, so even on that, I had read because I was looking at some Studio Ghibli films and just the amount of detail
Love them.
that they put in every single frame. I think it's 24 seconds.
24 frames
Right.
per second. Yep.
Which
Typically on
is-
twos, which is
Right, exactly.
2 frames per drawing.
Yep. Because I had tried. I was getting into animation, just drawing animation for a little bit
Mhm.
because I haven't told you this that my cousin and I were working on a project.
Ooh, okay.
5 years we've been working on the story.
Wow.
and we had gotten 4 or 5 seasons down.
Hmm.
And we had our characters, the whole setup, like everything.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. And I wanted to do a test animation. I wanted to do some character design, and I wanted to see how they would move and how they would do all that stuff. And so I was looking at all of this information, and even like simple stuff took so long. And if one thing's off, it's like you gotta kind of try and do it again.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing just like drawing,
Yeah.
they're barely moving.
Mm.
It'll make you go cuckoo. You have to have so much
Yeah.
patience.
Yeah.
Um,
Very, very time intensive. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of people say it takes a lot of patience, but I think animators, it's not that they have patience, it's that they can, like, they just have something.
Yeah.
They see the end result before
Right.
they ever do. And
Right.
so it's one of those processes where it's just like, it's so rewarding at the end of the day when
Right.
you have 2 seconds worth of animation to
Yep.
show for, and you poured 8-10 hours into the
Right.
day. When you get to see that 2 seconds play back and it looks good, then that is a great day for an
Yeah.
animator.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's such a great day.
Yeah.
So it's not so much just like you're patient. It's more like you
You're driven.
you're driven. Yeah, you have that ambition within you. You have that passion to like just hunker down and just
Get
produce drawings. You know,
Right.
and that's it's such a there are so many amazingly talented animators out there. I just that's an entire podcast on its own. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's such a brilliant art form
Yeah.
that I will always have a love for.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just it's amazing what people can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you see Miyazaki's son's film?
Remind me of the title again.
I
you
think it was
remember?
like The Dragon in the Castle or something. It was something like that.
Mm,
It was beautifully animated, but I heard the
was it
story.
that one from the early 2000s?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah,
Yes.
I've
'Cause
seen that.
It,
Yeah.
it looked good, but the story was not.
Mhm.
It was bad. And his
Yeah.
dad was like, "Yeah, you suck."
Yeah.
That's what he said. I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah,
Or hard.
harsher cultures. Yeah. for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So what did it look like for you starting out? Because I know that Cruz and I have talked about on the podcast, your mindset is kind of where most people start when actually deciding to do this. Because if your mind isn't there, then your body's not gonna follow.
Yeah.
So we've gotten the mind part down, but for you, what did it look like, sort of going through the whole 9 to 5 thing? Like, I don't feel like maybe this isn't what I want to do. Like, what did that look
Right.
like for you?
Well, I had a friend, a producer friend of mine that I met about 4-ish years ago now, and he told me we were doing a job together at one point, and it's like a 7-hour drive to where our shoot was, and we're talking the whole time, and something that he told me was that, so he had met me, he had seen how how much potential I had, and he was just like, oh wow, you've got all this, you have an eye for it, and this is when I was still working the 9 to 5, and I was like 5 years into this job
Right.
at this point. And he told me, at the end of the day, when you're just going home and you're in your bedroom, like, who sees what you can do? Like, who sees the potential you have
Mhm.
if you're not actively
Yeah.
pursuing your passion, like going out there and showing people what you have.
Mhm.
And that's when it sort of hit me. He was like, who sees it? Who
Yeah.
sees what I see in you? Because
Right.
I know you now. Like,
Right.
who else sees this?
Right.
And it just got me thinking. Like, I realized, I struggled a lot over the years with extreme social anxiety, and I
Right.
never really thought of myself as an extrovert or
Right.
a social person. But
Yeah.
when I just something about the way he phrased that, just like, who sees you? Who sees what you have to offer?
Right.
Who sees the value you have?
Right.
Something
Resonated.
clicked. Something clicked, and I was just like, wait a second. I am working this 9 to 5 every single day, barely struggling to get by, paying my bills, just trying to do this, just wishing that
Just treading water.
someday something's gonna happen. It's like, you don't just wait. You don't just wait around for the opportunity to hit you, because very, very, very low chances that someone's gonna come into the local, Chick-fil-A or whatever, who happens to be a big time movie producer and sees you and is like, hey, are you a filmmaker? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
No, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's like me not tapping into my true potential that I know I do have
Mhm.
isn't gonna get me any further in life. So what another thing, my friend, producer friend Caleb told me, he's like, position yourself for success. Put yourself in the right position that will enable you to succeed. You know, and I owe a lot just to him in really, giving me sort of that new perspective and outlook on life. And from there on, I mean, that was about 4 years ago. Because about late 2019, kind of going into like the whole COVID year and all that. That was a very tough time for me, professionally, creatively. I did not have a lot going for me. I had all these ideas sort of just trapped in my head. I was like, I want to do this, I want to do that. I couldn't focus. I couldn't get anything done, while trying to, maintain some job that I just really didn't care about, so that was, obviously, yes, the mindset shift was definitely big for me in figuring out, wait, like I don't have to do this,
Yep.
Um,
So why would
exactly. And so, it's both like the dumbest thing you can do, but also the most brilliant thing you can do is to quit your job. Because sure, yeah, there might be financial security in the job that you have, but what does that mean for you long term? What does that mean for you if you're not happy, if you're not satisfied with what you're doing? I think that we're meant to work. We're meant to love our work. If I go 2 days without leaving the house and not working, I feel bad.
Yeah.
Like I just,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Whoa, I need
Yeah.
to do something.
Yeah.
I can't not,
right?
or if you come down with a, sickness that has you bedridden for 3 days, it's like, by the time you're over it, dude, like you're so ready to get out of the house,
Yeah.
And just do something.
Right.
And for a creative mind, especially, you want to create, you want to do
Want to
something.
build. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just like when you're in that sort of mind numbing job, is the way I typically just sort of put it. It's just like, because you turn into a machine, you're just doing,
Same
going
thing
through the
usually,
motions,
yeah.
just doing everything, and then once you break out of that, and I think the most important thing is when you finally get out of that, when you finally make the decision, you're like, hey, I know it's a risk. I know I'm falling into, financial insecurity here. When you make that step to quit your job, and obviously, I mean, you have to have somewhat of a plan. Like you have, if you're like, I'm just gonna quit my job and
Float.
see what happens,
Yeah.
like, I
No,
don't,
you
I'm
kinda-
not,
yeah.
I'm not promoting that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like,
No.
if
Definitely
you
think-
know you have more to offer people
Yeah.
and yourself in life, then
Fight for it.
take that step, and if it means quitting your job right now, or eventually quitting your job, phasing out one job to get into something else that you like, I'm all for that, but don't believe the false notion that somehow, if you quit your job, you're just going to end up on the streets, or this job is everything. If it's a dead end job that you don't like, or you just have no interest in, find a way to replace that job.
Right.
And so it definitely starts with mindset, but then also the actions you take.
Right.
Again, putting yourself in the position for success. And I think that's what, I mean, you guys are doing right now, is finding like-minded people
Right.
who want to succeed.
Right.
But
also want to see you succeed.
Exactly.
It's that
Exactly.
community.
At the same time.
Right.
Yeah. I think, that's, I think you guys are both doing that. I commend you both for, like, just put yourselves out there and just saying, like, hey, like, there's more to life than
Yes. Yeah.
flipping burgers at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
there's
yeah.
more to life. I want more in life, and you have to have that sort of energy and
that's
passion
for
in
life.
life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Have you done a lot of traveling?
Oh man, I wish I can say I did. I got my passport in early 2020.
Oh,
I've
he's
yet
got
to travel.
Yeah, I got
I've
mine.
yet to travel.
I got a
like,
crazy
like,
story
like
about
travel
that.
He's got a
outside the
story
country.
about his.
I have lived in different places.
Yeah.
I've lived on the Pacific Northwest. I've
Yeah.
lived here. Been to a lot of the surrounding states. I've traveled all around the state. But that's something that I'm still wanting to do very badly. I'm still trying to slowly sort of expand my network of
Yeah.
people I know, and I think also, I think my work will eventually take me
I was about
to
to say.
various
Yeah.
destinations.
Yeah. Usually the nature.
Yeah,
of
like
beast.
that
Yeah.
career in
Yeah.
particular again. Like
And I think once you are well known enough, and not saying like famous, I'm saying like well known enough within your industry, within
Right.
your community,
Mhm.
Yeah.
people are going to start seeking you out because of who you are,
Yep.
the person you are, and the work you have,
Because the
work
name.
that you
Yeah.
that you can show for.
Right.
Mhm.
Um, I think people will start seeking you out no matter where you're at. So it's not so much, oh, I have to quit my job, got to move to Atlanta,
Right.
jump into film. You
Right.
know, like
Yeah.
I don't have to do that.
No.
There's work here. There's enough work here to sort of keep me sustained.
Right.
But more so, I'm traveling for work. I'm going places. I
Yeah.
don't need to
Right.
move to LA
No.
to
Mhm.
So,
pursue it.
right.
That's another just false notion people
Yeah.
sort of think that they have to do. It's like
Yeah.
the film industry,
Right.
quite frankly, is bigger than just LA or
Yes.
Atlanta these days. You know, there's
I mean,
it's
Bollywood
so
is
much
huge.
bigger. Well, yeah,
It's
that's-
massive.
yeah,
Go to
you want
India.
to, you know,
I think
Um,
it's bigger than Hollywood, like just like population wise.
yeah,
as
yeah.
far as,
Well,
like,
I mean,
viewership.
India has like one of the biggest populations in the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
this is the
insane.
number one
Well,
most populated.
It's
country.
weird because like you go on YouTube and you look up like little Indian like music videos, and they have millions,
Massive productions
Yeah.
and stuff.
millions of views,
Yeah.
like hundreds of millions
Yeah.
of views, and you go
Mhm.
on like Casey Neistat, he's got 10 million views. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's bigger,
That's
bigger
just the
numbers
audience,
there, yeah,
man.
bigger numbers. Yeah,
Crazy.
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
it's crazy.
yeah, no, I think that's important for people to hear because I think there's a lot of people that they get bogged down, they get discouraged when they see this chasm of like, if I don't stay on the trail that everyone else walked on,
Mhm.
how I don't even know how to
Yeah.
even like find water in the wilderness, so to speak.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're breaking the mold. You know,
Right.
you're,
Mhm.
and that's something that is very scary.
Yeah.
I've been confronted with that. Like, do I want to stay on this path, like go down this path, or do I want to carve out my own path? And that's a very scary sort of decision to make where you're like, I'm going to do my own thing.
Mhm.
There's so much bigger risk involved because no one's ever,
Done like
no
this,
one's
right.
been on the exact same path that I'm on.
Right. No one's
But
been
when
me.
you realize that nobody really ever has, you know, like everyone has their own path,
Everyone's making
you
it up.
know,
Mhm.
and you know, there's different ones you can sort of choose, you know, like I thought about going to like university for a while, and after I graduated high school, and I just realized, you know, pretty quickly, like with the industry I'm in, I can either go to school for 4 years,
Yeah.
come back with a piece of paper, and then be like, all right, somebody hire me, and no one's
Yeah.
gonna hire me because no one
Yeah.
knows me, you know.
Exactly.
Again, it's something I wouldn't be able to stress. If there's anything you take away from this podcast, it's like something I can't stress enough is getting out there and meeting people.
Absolutely.
Don't meet
Networking.
people with the expectation that, oh, you're just going to give me a job, you know.
No.
But
Meet people for people.
genuinely
Mhm.
try to
Yes.
connect with people and build relationships because those are the people that are going to be calling you.
Mhm.
When you have a very good relationship with them, both personally and professionally, they're going to be calling on you specifically because what makes me better as a filmmaker, as a camera operator, as this or that, like what makes me better
Right.
than any number of people, even just within my own region. I mean, there's so many amazingly talented people out
Yeah.
here. Who's gonna choose me? Why would someone choose to work with me
Right.
or specifically reach out to me to
Right.
work with them? It's because again, I'm trying to establish good relationships
Right.
with these
Good
people.
rapport.
You know, and once you do get to work with them, and prove to them that hey, I'm a great person to be around. You know, got a great work ethic. I know my stuff. You know, I know what I'm doing here. Then at that point, you're sort of just like you're in
Mhm.
at that point,
Mhm.
and then
Right.
people are going to continue. You know, and basically every job you get is an opportunity to get more jobs,
Right.
and that's
Yeah.
pretty much how I've found what little success I have
Right.
in this industry.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Um. So how would you recommend people who have just they've reached that stage of okay, I want to do something else, I don't know what to do, and there's a lot of people telling me that I'm just some stupid idiot, I don't know what to do, I'm doing it wrong.
well, they would be correct.
Yeah. All right,
They're
I'll
right,
stop.
man.
And that's
There we
yeah,
are. You heard it here first.
Man, well, I think it comes back to surrounding yourself around winners, surrounding yourself around people who genuinely want to win in life.
Right.
Mhm.
Because if your friend group is comprised, is that the word?
Yeah.
Comprised of people who um uh, don't love life.
Yeah.
More or less.
That are
Don't love
just
life.
kind of
Just
floating,
they're working
sitting.
they're working their dead end jobs that they just at the end of the week they want to waste their money on trivial things, then eventually it doesn't mean you don't have to be this person's friend anymore, but like as you succeed, as you level up in life, you're leveling up your friends too.
Mhm.
You know, I'm stealing that from someone. I forget who
Yeah.
who I'm quoting here.
Yeah.
But that was something I heard.
Right.
Yeah, I think in a YouTube video a while back was leveling up your friends.
I don't think
Awesome.
that sounds like I don't
Um,
know. He would say it a little bit differently. He'd be like, You'd say it weirdly.
Yeah. But just like you have to, again, you have to be putting yourself in front of people who want to see you succeed and want to succeed themselves,
Mhm.
And I think we sort of touched on this last time we had a discussion was, I'm not going to the guy that's already made it and he's been working in the industry for 20 years and
Yeah.
I'm like, hey man, can you give me a
Yeah,
job?
That's right. No,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I
like
wish it'd be that way.
I want to surround myself with people who are about my level,
Right.
where like if I ask you, hey, can you come out for a day and film with
Right.
me? They'd be like, hell yeah, dude, I'm
Yeah,
gonna come out and
Right.
because that's how you succeed together. When you genuinely are like, I'm not in this because I'm trying to find a way to get rich quick. No,
Right.
Mhm.
I want to do this because I genuinely have a love
Right.
for the arts. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I
Right.
do. Then when you find people who are like-minded in that
Right.
sense, and I have at this
Yeah.
point, I've met a lot of people where at the drop of a hat, I'm like, dude, let's go and film this, or
Right.
hey, can I borrow your microphone or whatever? It's just like
Mhm.
doing little favors here and there for each other because we genuinely all want to succeed.
Yeah.
We all want to see each other succeed.
Yeah.
And so I think that circling back to your question, there, it's just like how do you sort of I guess navigate those naysayers, like the people who just
Right.
think you're
Just some.
full of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't listen to them.
Yeah.
Like if you genuinely think that what you're doing is right for you,
Right.
don't listen to the other people.
Right.
Don't listen to people who don't want to see. They're projecting their own insecurities onto you.
Mhm.
They're projecting their own failures and mundaneness.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be something more?
Yeah.
And so I think that doing something more,
Yeah.
it should be encouraged.
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and I talked with Cruz a little about this. I said, at least for me, right,
Mhm.
the way that I view life and the way that I sort of live life, the the nature of this industry and industries like it,
Mhm.
um, the unsurety of it all is kind of exciting for me
Yeah.
because it's the whole. I mean, it's the reason why we tell stories, right?
Right.
The story about the dragon and saving the princess and being the knight and going off into the adventure.
Exactly.
That's
Against
the entire
all
thing.
odds,
Against
being
all
able
odds.
to, yeah,
Fighting through it
Yeah.
because there's that treasure that you find on the other end is worth more than you would find
Yeah.
staying in the little kingdom
Yeah.
and the little town because you're fighting for something these mythos that exists with humanity for thousands of years.
right.
You're beginning to contend with those things, and I think that's where there's some magic,
Mhm.
and that's where you really find the stuff that life is made of,
Absolutely.
and it makes it that much brighter.
Absolutely, man. Yep.
And that's I think why, at least for me, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why I'm adamant about fighting for something like this.
Right.
Even if I might not have all the answers,
Right.
I don't feel the need to.
Yeah.
Because it's like I would rather try.
You discover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's part of it.
And I think that sort of bouncing off of what you're saying here is like I think there are a lot of people with big dreams.
Right.
And I think there are people who are unrealistic about those dreams
Right.
Mhm.
because you have to have the awareness, the self-awareness that hey, I might not be great right now at
Right.
what I do and I'm learning.
Right.
You have to be able to constantly be looking to improve yourself, your craft, the things you do, the way that you interact with people, the way
Mhm.
that you communicate. Because if you're not doing that, 5-10 years down the line, you're going to be so
Stuck. Yeah.
sort of self-absorbed in this world of like, I'm doing all these great things, but
Right.
like you're not really, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
like again, I'm not trying to take this in a negative direction. It's just like I have seen these people. I've come and I've been around these people before where they're more like the way that I describe it is sort of like enthusiasts.
Mhm.
Like you have your filmmakers, like people who
Right.
genuinely want to make films and want to put the work. It's work at the end of the day. It
yeah.
is work,
It's work.
but it's something you're excited about.
Right.
But then you have like the other side of that, where it's just like the enthusiasts, the people who go out and see Avengers and be like, "Oh my god, that's so cool!
Yeah.
I want to do that,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they pull out their iPhone and they just like make something that's just like objectively bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're so like
Blinded by
just
yeah.
like, wow, I've created something,
Mhm.
And it's like there's a time and place for that. There's a
Right.
stage for that
Right.
Yeah.
where you're like just discovering what you love and everything.
Right.
But if you stay in that area
Yeah.
and don't look to improve,
Mhm.
then you're always going to be there. No
Yeah.
one's going to take you seriously.
Right.
You know.
Stagnation.
And
is
so
definitely-
then people are rightfully
Right.
calling you out on your
Right.
crap. You know
Right.
that like you're not looking to improve. You're just looking
Yeah.
to like goof off.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah,
And so, and trust me, I mean, I'm sure you've
Yeah.
seen these people. You
Yeah.
know, it's just like there are those people. There's that group of people who are just so unaware of what they're doing
right.
that they're not actively trying to be better
Yeah.
at what they do.
Yeah.
You know, and
Mm,
so
yeah.
that's something I'm constantly trying to instill in myself is like, I don't want to like, you know, when I show people my work and they're like, well, you know, and they try to critique me, like, you know, there's something a little off there. Whatever. I don't want to be like, well, you know, it's a matter of
Yeah.
opinion. You know, like I
Yeah.
want to be like, oh,
Right.
wow, you know,
Yeah.
that's objectively. I'm sorry.
No, it's-
That's objectively truth. Like what you're saying there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did mess up there, or
Right.
you know, there's a way that I'm constantly looking to improve my
Right.
craft. You know, but if you don't have that improvement sort of mindset, then you're going to be stuck back here.
Right.
Mhm.
And chances are you're not going to find the success.
Yeah.
And people will laugh at you.
Right.
And kind of rightfully so in a sense
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
if you can't get over yourself,
Yep. Then you will always be
then
the
you're
fool.
always going to be. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so,
I think, and that's because you and I were talking about it the other day,
Mhm.
right? That when you get down to it, right?
Mhm.
If you are actually passionate about it, and you can, because there's the people that are just goofing off, right? Then you also have the people that are just they're in it for the money,
Mhm.
right? So it's just like, well, I don't really, just
Right.
doing it because there's a lot of money in it, so whatever.
Mhm.
right.
And then there's the people that have that middle ground where it's passion, where it is work, but the blood, sweat, and tears that you pour into it makes it that much more sweet.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I think that there's and again, this is like I think this part of the creative part of it. When we tell stories, we're painting it with our own experiences,
Right.
you know, and our pain and our happiness, all of it.
Absolutely.
It's being poured into it, and it's like pouring molten metal into a mold, right? All this raw emotion, you just funnel it into this thing you can make.
Right.
And I think that I think especially in the film industry, right? It can be a very wild scene, right?
Right.
Because you get a lot of different kinds of people in there.
Yep.
And you do have to have your wits about you.
Mhm.
How have you navigated all of that? Just people that you sort of like, okay, I'm gonna be around these people. I don't know if
Mhm.
these people are for me.
Right.
How have you gone about that?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting question. You know, there will always be different people all
Right.
around you, and especially in an industry such as this, where it's so diverse, I guess to say, just to sort of umbrella everything here. And I think a big part of sort of your journey in this is, you know, you're inevitably going to end up on sets with people that you might mesh well with really, really well, where you both have very common interests, and your style, your creative styles, and your creative storytelling, and all that. It might be very similar.
Yeah.
And that's great when you find the sort of people that are genuinely aligned, sort of with what you're looking to do within this field.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people are doing all sorts of things. You
Right.
know? I'm not really one for like horror films. I've never really been into horror films. My personal style is more like drama with like elements of like suspense or like thriller, I guess,
Yeah.
sort of sprinkled in there. But
Mhm.
um, starting to lose my train of thought here.
You're good. You're good.
Let me bring it back in here.
You're
Yeah, you're gonna find yourself on set with all sorts of different people and different creative minds, I guess to say, you know, and um, I think that knowing how to knowing how to what's the word, like not pivot.
Yeah,
We use the
pivot.
word pivot a lot.
Yes, we
earlier.
have.
To sort of adapt to different people.
Mhm.
You know, understand you can pretty much get along with anyone if
Yeah.
you are
If you know.
approaching it
Yeah.
in the sense that you're a fellow human, we're all just going to get along, you know. um then you find ways, you know, that you know you'll
Life finds a way.
exactly.
Mhm.
And a good example I think of this is like I was hired to DP a film. It was a horror film. I've never done horror in my life, and I was like, this would be an interesting sort of challenge, you know. And so I got on this. It was the very first time we were filming. It was the first time I was meeting everyone for the first time, and the story it got pretty dark, you know, like and definitely out of my wheelhouse. You know, it's definitely not the sort of thing I would produce. So I'm not sticking my brand on that. You know, I was involved with production. Yes, I'm not really sticking my personal image onto this film because it's not really
Your jam.
my. Again, kind of comes back to like branding, marketing. Like, how are you going to show yourself to people? What does your image look like?
Right.
But I will say this: I went in a little unsure of who these people were and what their sort of mission was and what they're doing. And I went out with like 5 new friends. And now like we hang out, we go get a beer together. It's just like even though like the subject matter was really dark and you would sort of I guess associate that sort of story with
From
these
like a somber
people
set.
and be
Yeah.
like, that's kind of weird, you
Yeah.
know, like at least that's, you know, and this is just me probably being too quick to judge, but like when I knew the people behind the camera, when I knew the people behind the performances, I'm like, these are genuinely really beautiful people. Like these are awesome people.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with these people, you know? And so sometimes we get super creatively just wild with our ideas and what we do. And sometimes it can be like really dark or really graphic or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's just like when you see the person behind the art.
Yeah.
It's like the art might look really wild and really crazy and really out there, but the person behind it might just be like super down to earth. You know, you would think they're like dressing all like really just out there, you know,
Yeah.
a very strange,
Eclectic. Yeah. Very, very eclectic.
yeah. But I mean, the art that you create, I mean, the stuff that you create doesn't necessarily reflect
Who you are.
as a person, you
Right.
know, just day to day, you know, and that's why we call them actors, you know,
Yeah.
like the actors who play these parts, you know, where they're like the serial killers and just like the really disturbing, demented people. It's just
Yeah.
they might be the most kind-hearted,
Yeah.
most like laid back, very like introverted people,
Yeah.
out there, you
Yeah.
know, and I've met these people, so
Absolutely.
I think just going in without too much of a
Preconceived notion.
yeah, exactly. Where you know, just slower to judge people, just in general. I think that's something we
Be
should
open-minded.
always,
Yeah.
have just open mindedness, you know, and understanding yourself well enough to know like when you're going into something, be like, well, this might be a bit of a strange experience for me because I'm not typically around
gonna go
people
with
who are
it,
like
yeah.
this or people who are like that, you know. And so yeah, I mean, I remove everything from
All
you know,
prejudices.
yeah, I remove it all, remove all judgment from my mind when I'm walking into something, and I'm just like, all right, let's see what this
Rock
is
and
about,
roll.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's
I've,
awesome.
I've seen some bloopers on horror sets, the bigger budget horror sets, and they're always laughing. They're always
Yeah.
having a time, and it's like you would think it would be a somber set because they're like,
Yeah.
oh yes, this woman's bleeding from her
Right.
eyes and she's floating on the ceiling,
Yeah,
but she's
exactly.
like they're giggling, like talking about the dumbest things.
Yeah,
and they're like,
that's typically how it
"Ooh."
goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you guys saw my film. I think I
Yeah.
sent it to you
Yeah.
guys earlier.
Yeah.
It's still not out yet, but it's going to
Oh.
festivals. That film tackled very serious subject matter, you know. It had a lot of just like it was very human, you know. Talked about struggles of, you know, alcoholism and suicide and all that. But I mean, I laughed a lot on that set. Like
Oh,
we
yeah.
all laughed a
Yeah.
lot. There was a lot of laughing. There were some dark like humor
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
on set where it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, this person's supposed to be dead, and it's like right before we start rolling, we're making like the darkest jokes about you know, it's just like so and so comes in and sees their, you know, mom dead on the floor. He sees a beer, picks up the beer and starts taking a drink. You know, it's just like we think of like these really goofy, and I think it's just like, you know, comedy and tragedy are so like
They're
close
so
with each other.
close.
I mean, like it was Charlie Chaplin, the great Charlie Chaplin, one of my biggest inspirations of all time, who said one of his quotes. I might butcher this quote. I'm trying to remember it properly, but they said, "Life is a drama up close, and a
But-
comedy
yeah.
and a long shot."
Yeah.
And it makes all the sense in the world to me.
It does.
You know, when you're way out here and you're looking back at someone's tragedy,
Yeah.
you know, you see someone getting all frustrated, or it's like
Yeah.
it's comical the way they look
Yeah,
right
exactly.
now.
Right.
But up close and personal, like when you're inside that person's head and you're really seeing the
'Cause
emotion.
all you see is
It's
this,
so
this moment
dramatic.
right there. Yeah.
And so, you know, you find comedy in tragedy, I guess,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and I think something that I'm also trying to do with stories I sort of develop in the future is finding a very good balance between something that is really dark and very dramatic and
Mhm.
something that's light-hearted and funny. You know, finding a way to make my audience both sob
Yeah.
and laugh at the same
Yeah.
time.
Go through the
Yeah.
emotions.
You know, well, not at the same time. That'd be
Right.
weird, but like
Oh, that would
at
look
different
insane. I was
times.
like,
yeah, but like at
Yeah,
different
I guess
times
it's scary.
in the story that I tell, I want to be able to like get a laugh out of the audience and
Mhm.
also get some tears out of the audience. I mean, I think that that's such a perfect balance of storytelling because life is
That's all it
funny.
Yeah.
Life is funny. Life is sad. You know,
Oh
why
my
not mimic that? You know,
Yeah.
why not? You know, when we talk about a drama or a comedy or a horror or whatever, it's just like, why does it always have to be within that genre? Like,
Right.
why can't we just like, you
Mhm.
know,
Why can't it be
open
all
it up
different?
to
Yeah.
different sort of ideas and stuff? Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen any horror films? Do you like horror?
Mm, I mean, I've seen a couple of horror films. Actually, I remember one of the first ones I watched was The Poltergeist, and I started laughing because I thought it was really funny. Like,
Mm.
I don't know if the acting was really wonky or what. And then I think shortly after that, I watched The Conjuring.
Mm.
I don't know,
Uh,
have you seen that?
I've seen bits and pieces.
It's
of it.
like it's just weird.
Yeah.
I
mean,
don't watch that stuff.
Yeah, I
Can't
mean,
do that.
I don't really like. I don't make a habit of watching horror
Mhm.
films just because again, it's not my bread and butter. I don't like
Yeah.
to like get scared purposely. I don't really
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
any joy in that. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
No pun
um,
intended.
Yeah.
Because I don't
Yeah.
think you would find any joy in horror. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
You won't find me either.
yeah, no horror films.
Only the ones.
I definitely don't
Yeah.
enjoy, and also just kind of like circumnavigate what we were saying earlier. I really like the aspect that you brought up about like the kind of human nature of
Yeah.
acting, and I think this might be subjective, but I think that kind of like we were created with the innate ability to create other things, and I think that's where like the three of us kind of latch on
Mhm.
to filming, writing, and like creating, and again like that storytelling.
Right.
I guess we're all just like super drawn to it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
again, I think
Well, I
it's really
mean-
cool that you can like show a really like bright light on
Yeah.
that because a lot of people are really interested.
Oh,
in
we're
like,
the only species on Earth, I guess, who truly have that like ability
Mhm.
to create. you know?
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
we are the civilized. We create
Mhm.
things. We
Yeah.
construct things. You know. And so, yeah. I mean, I like to think of it. I like to think of it in the sense that like we are made in the image of God, and
Yeah.
like as
Mhm.
that, like we're made with that sort of innate like nature to like want to create to be like God in
Yeah.
that sense. Like
Yeah.
we're hopefully humble,
Mhm.
but like we aspire to be like our
Mhm.
creator. And I
Yeah.
guess I mean for me personally, like when I create, I think about that a lot. I
Mhm.
think about like what is my biggest inspiration to create? What is my greatest motivator in life to
Mhm.
create myself? And it just goes back to God,
Yeah.
just knowing that like I was created and with the ability to create something, to
Mhm.
fabricate something out of basically nothing, like
Yeah.
to use what I have here, to construct and to build. Just that is one of the greatest things in life.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I think that's a really just beautiful way to put it. Totally agree. Yeah. So, anyways, I think that's gonna do it for the episode.
All right, guys.
Yeah, I think
Good
you
deal.
did
This is
a
the first podcast I've
yeah.
ever been on. Thanks so
That's
much. For
That's
right.
awesome.
Look at that. Hey, we broke the mold both ways.
That's
How
right,
about
that's right.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been waiting for a long time, and I think that you were like the right person to kind of
Awesome. Well, I appreciate
break
that.
that. And
Yeah,
it's a pleasure
thanks,
having you on,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be back at
Yes.
some point. We'd love to have you
For
back.
sure,
You
man.
know,
We'll be documenting our entire journey.
that's right. That's
And
right.
I'll be a part of that journey.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it'll
so-
it'll be in your journey too. So
Yeah.
all of our journeys.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm
brothers.
ready for it.
How about a three-way fist bump?
Oh, yeah.
Three-way
There we go.
bump.
Yeah, but
A free bump.
All right. Let's go beyond that.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, make sure you
I was debating what I was gonna
like
say.
and
I
subscribe
did.
and comment if you like the video, and then we're gonna try to tag your stuff in there so they can
Oh, yeah,
check your
sure.
works out. And
Yeah, sure.
yeah, so
Awesome.
I appreciate you for coming on, and that was a real good time. So
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
for watching. See you later.
I'll
Next
catch you
time.
later.
That's right.
Later on the day.
Later on the
All right, let's
midday.
take it to the thing, too.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually one.